So today we're going to do something kind of cool. We're taking a 3,000-year-old text, the I Ching, and turning its ancient wisdom into a practical four-stage guide for navigating the challenges you face right now. And look, this isn't about telling the future. It's about a timeless strategy for building real resilience.
Right. So you're probably thinking, how can some ancient book of wisdom actually help me with my career, my relationships, or just getting through the week? Well, it turns out the basic patterns of how we grow, face a crisis, and then recover, they're universal. The I Ching just gives us a brilliant roadmap to understand and master them. Okay, let's dive into this journey, starting with the most important step.
All right, first things first. Stage one is all about building a solid foundation. Before you can go out and take on the world, you absolutely have to take care of yourself. This is where it all begins. So, our first stop on this journey is hexagram 27, called Yi. Now, don't get hung up on the word hexagram. It's really just a symbol for a specific situation. And this one, it literally represents the mouth or the cheek, symbolizing nourishment. But we're not just talking about food here. It's about feeding your body and your spirit, building genuine, lasting strength from the inside out.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's all about holistic self-care. It means you've got to work on your character just as much as you watch what you eat. It's about building your own skills so you're not dependent on anyone else. And it's about controlling what comes out of your mouth, your words, just as much as what goes in.
The text gives us this really fascinating, kind of intense line here. Watching me enjoying my food is dangerous. Now, this isn't literal, of course. It's a super powerful metaphor about how toxic envy can be. So what does that mean? The text is warning us not to be that person who just sits on the sidelines, watching other people succeed and getting bitter, maybe hoping for a few scraps. That's not a strategy for growth. Real power comes from focusing on your own plate, on developing your own talents, and becoming truly self-reliant. That's the foundation for everything else that's coming. So you build this foundation. Now what? Well, life is going to test it, for sure. A major challenge will inevitably come your way, and that brings us to stage 2, dealing with a crisis. This is hexagram 28, daguo, which means excessive. The image it paints is of a bent ridgepole. The main beam holding up the whole roof? It's buckling under the pressure. Think about a startup whose business model just isn't working anymore, or a project where the plan has just completely fallen apart. It feels like a total crisis, but it's also a massive opportunity for change. The key here is fascinating. You have to be strong internally, but soft and careful in how you approach it externally. So when things are about to collapse, what do? The I Ching says you have to be bold. You have to take a stand, even if you feel like you're the only one. But, and this is so important, you wrap that really tough, necessary change in a soft approach. And you absolutely don't do it alone. You bring in the energy and support of the people around you, especially the next generation. And this brings us to two totally different paths. On the one hand, you can try to be the hero and carry all the weight yourself. The text says that's how the ridgepole bends and eventually breaks. That's the fast track to burnout and failure. Or there's the other path. You reinforce that ridgepole by getting support from your team, from the people on the front lines. Now that is the path to real strength and success. But here's the thing. Sometimes when you take that bold action, you run into unexpected trouble. Even with the best intentions, you can find yourself completely and utterly stuck. This brings us to stage 3, navigating the pit. This is hexagram 29, Kun. It literally represents a pit, a deep ravine, a gorge. It's that feeling of being totally trapped with danger on every side. And when you're in a situation like this, the I Ching is crystal clear. Your single most important tool for survival isn't some clever trick or scheme. It's your integrity. That's it. The advice here is actually pretty counterintuitive. When you fall into a pit, your first instinct is to flail around, right? But the text warns that struggling just makes you sink deeper. So instead of firing off 10 panicked emails, you probe cautiously. You make small, careful moves. And sometimes, the absolute wisest action is to do nothing at all, to just wait patiently, holding on to your principles. And it's in these moments, when you feel completely stuck, that real help often shows up. The text uses this really beautiful image of support being passed through the window. It's not some grand, dramatic rescue. It's simple, essential stuff,
a bottle of wine, a bowl of rice, from people who truly care. It's a powerful reminder that integrity attracts support, even in the darkest of times. After you've managed to endure the pit, you don't just go back to normal. You can't. You emerge transformed. And this leads us to our final stage, the fire of clarity. This is hexagram 30, Li, which symbolizes fire, light, and clarity. Think about it. After being in the total darkness of the pit, you finally have the light of understanding. And this fire, it doesn't just illuminate things, it discerns. It gives you the wisdom to separate what's true from what's false, what really matters from what's just noise. And this clarity is what allows you to move with real purpose. Once you get that yellow light of understanding, as the text calls it, you act decisively. You go for it. But you also use this newfound wisdom to prepare for the future, not just for you, but for others. The text says a wise leader transitions from being the doer to being the coach, using their hard-won experience to guide the next generation. So, we've walked through 4 really distinct stages of this journey. Let's pull it all together now into a single, powerful roadmap that you can actually use. It all comes together in this incredible 4-step cycle. First, you nourish. You build that solid foundation of self-reliance. Then, you're ready to transform when that inevitable crisis hits. When you get stuck, and you will, you endure, using your integrity as your guide. And finally, you emerge to illuminate, using that newfound wisdom to lead others. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a cycle of growth you can navigate again and again throughout your life. And that leaves us with one final thought. For you, looking at this roadmap, think about your own life right now. Your career, a relationship, a project you're pouring your heart into. Which stage of this ancient journey are you in? Really think about it, because answering that question, well, that just might give you the spark of clarity you need for your very next step.